Welcome aboard the cruising show here on Northern Viking Explorer. If you're new here, my name is Ken. I'm here with my wife, Andrea, and today we're going to be talking about cruise excursions and whether it's better to book them on the ship or with the cruise line versus privately. We're going to be giving you some pros and cons on that. Now, if you are new here, you can watch us here on YouTube. You can watch us here on Facebook. You can listen to us on your favorite podcasting platform, Apple, Google, Spotify. Make sure to follow us or subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming content, as well as you can head on over to thecruisingshow.com. That'll bring you over to our website.
So when we're planning our cruise and we're thinking about what we want to do in port, we like to think about what kind of excursions do we want to do.
Yes.
And there's a lot of options. And so we often look at, should we book on the ship or should we do something privately?
Yes.
So we're going to go through the list of some of the pros of booking with the ship and some of the pros of booking on your own and how we come up to how we find our decision.
Yeah, how we make our decision. So that's what this show is all about today. So let's dive into the first category here, and that is pros of booking with the cruise line. So yeah, there's a lot of pros from doing that. And welcome, Tanya from Iowa. Thanks for joining us again. Awesome. So there's lots of pros of booking with the cruise line. You know, back in the day, I always thought, no, it's not worth booking with the cruise line. There's a lot of pros.
There is.
Yeah.
And you really need to decide for yourself what is best for you. So I'm going to dive right in and let's just say ease of booking. When you book with the cruise line, it is easy.
It is definitely easy. You can do it ahead of time.
You can go right onto the cruise website and you can look and see what excursions they have. And if there's something you really want to do, I recommend that you do that because some of them book like they sell out.
Yes. So yeah, they do sell out. We've seen that lots of times for sure.
Sometimes, yeah, that's the only way you can book that excursion. So look ahead.
And it's nice when you're on their website. So you'll have your cruise, you can bring it up typically on their website, and then it'll show you each port that you're stopping in, and it'll list like all the excursions for that day. So extremely easy to do, and it's less research.
Oh, because the cruise lines figured it all out. They've got it all.
They do the research for you. It names everything out on there. Just makes it a whole lot easier for booking. And as I think you already mentioned, you can book through the website or often on the ship as well. Or often you can book on the ship as well. So that makes it a lot easier. And all the, like we just mentioned, the details are arranged with them.
Including transportation.
Everything. And sometimes food.
Sometimes it'll state on there. We've seen too, like when you book privately through another website, they might offer you a nice beach day, but it may not include transportation. So then you still have to figure out how you're going to get there. And so if you want simple, that's the way to go. But another big factor here too is that it just gets billed right either to your credit card or to your online account when you book on the cruise.
Which is extremely convenient.
Yeah, and it's often, it'll be in the currency of what you're paying for your cruise. So it's, for us, it's usually US dollars.
You're
super
not
simple.
I'd say you're less concerned, far less concerned about fraud, about getting double charged or weird things like that. I know we've had situations just even on our last trip where we were, and this was a reputable company, but we were accidentally double charged for our hotels.
And they fixed it.
They fixed it, but it's so easy to, especially by private things, to get charged extra, or you're always hear horror stories. So
what the cruise line says it's going to cost, that's what it's going to cost. There's not going to be some secret fees. So,
you know, it's funny because I look back on, I think I was talking to you about this maybe a week ago. I look back at all our trips in the last 2 years, and almost every trip had something financially wrong when I looked at our credit card statement, whether we were charged twice or charged for something we shouldn't have been charged or overcharged, different things like that. So almost every trip, and or expecting refunds or different things like that just took forever. So,
you know, we haven't had that with the cruise line, but I have seen other people say there's been mistakes, things charged their onboard account. So when you're cruising, watch that too.
Yeah.
Just always watch things.
Yeah. Well, and some of them aren't. I look back, and some of them have been several $100s that were owed or double charged on or whatever. So
check.
That's besides the point.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to talk about that, but double check your credit cards when you get home from holidays. Transportation is arranged. This is a big one.
That makes it easy.
Yes, because when you're, for example, we did cave tubing recently. The bus there and back was all arranged for us. We don't have to figure that out. It's all good. And I know an excursion like that, if you did it privately, they'd arrange it as well. But it's just ease of not having to think about it.
But not all of them do. When you book, there's some online websites, and you have to look. You might think you're paying significantly less, but if you're having to pay a taxi on top of that, it could be pretty close in price.
For sure. Now here, I think the next one's a big one.
Yeah.
If the port is canceled, you're automatically refunded.
Well,
when it gets canceled.
This happens frequently, and this actually just happened to us. We weren't able to go into Mahogany Bay. Now, anyone who had an excursion booked with Carnival was automatically refunded.
Yes.
Now, if you have something already booked privately, you may be trying to get your money back and having to deal with that. It's an extra step.
Yeah. So Carl, I know you're joking here, but this is kind of funny. We always overcharge Canadians because they're too nice to complain about it. Well, I know you're joking. So
you're funny, Carl.
So yeah, I appreciate the comment. Now I lost where I'll blame you for that, Carl. What were we talking about again? If the port is canceled. Yeah. So you'd mentioned that Mahogany Bay was canceled, and we were just going to do a beach day there, but people would have gotten their money back for that.
Yes.
And so the peace of mind of, let me throw it at you the other way. If you had a private excursion, all of a sudden because it was basically 10 minutes before we would have docked that we found out it was canceled. All of a sudden, the panic of everyone with a private excursion trying to call their private excursions and cancel, and then you don't know if you're going to be getting your money back or different things like that. So that's something definitely to think about. So Tanya's saying, I purchased my Wild Canyon excursion in Cabo through Carnival. Looks like I'm going to have transportation and lunch. That's awesome. Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's definitely, and we're going to get to some of the points about, this is actually a good point, and we'll get to this in a bit, but because Cabo is a tender port, that is awesome. That's one of the places that we would agree with that for sure, booking through Carnival, because you get priority and those sorts of things. So we'll come back to that, but that sounds awesome.
I'm going to take the next one here.
Yes.
So sometimes ship time and port time are two very different times. And so if you're trying to arrange an excursion privately, you have to know ahead of time if land time and the ship time are the same, and adjust for that. Yeah.
I believe it was when we were in Grand Turk that I connected to the Wi-Fi in the little shopping area before we left the port. And I didn't realize that my phone and my watch were connected, and it automatically changes the time on my watch. And then about 3-4 hours later, I'm like, oh, we have plenty of time or whatever. And you're like, no, we don't.
We don't. Because I hadn't connected.
And we were doing a private excursion there.
Yes.
So,
and actually for that reason, I usually take an old school watch that can't connect, because it can get a little confusing. We actually asked people in town, we're like, what time do you have?
And it's kind of funny because I'm always bugging you about your old school watch that looks like it's from the 80s or 90s, and then
it looks athletic.
It looks athletic. Timex. It takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
And I never have to charge it, and the same battery for many years. It works.
It works.
It works. Hey, I knew what time it was.
Yeah, and I didn't. I'd be the pure runner.
Okay, now this is a biggie.
Okay.
the whole priority disembarkation.
Yes, and this is kind of where it comes back to.
So this even matched with the port time is even bigger, because when we were in Grand Cayman, we did a private excursion, and that was a tender, was it not?
Yes. Thankfully, the tenders in Grand Cayman are big and they get a lot of people, but still you're worried about how long it's going to take.
So you're trying to figure out what time you will actually get to land, because the tender times, if you're doing it privately, you're not guaranteed to get off right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're trying to adjust for time change. So that can get
and that's
confusing.
Where, coming back to Tanya's comment here that she booked the Wild Canyon excursion through Cabo, is why I kind of thought of that, because Cabo is one of those places where it's tendered, and the tender boats they're big, but they're not huge like other ports.
Yeah.
And they might be loading tenders for an hour or an hour and a half before the general public gets on them. Mm-hmm. So the private excursions do get off first, and that extends your day significantly.
Should say if you have one of the first excursions.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a later in the day.
For sure. You can book excursions that'll get you off right away. There's typically a time that you would see.
You'll get priority, and that can really help you maximize your day too, because you can get off and get going right away.
Yes. So it's definitely a pro for sure. For sure. So.
Team Carl he nailed it here, because I totally agree with him. So read his comment.
When an excursion is long and goes a far distance from the port, think Lebanon in Belize, I will definitely choose the ship excursion. And that's exactly what we did in Belize when we were there. We did the cave tubing, which is an hour and a half roughly by bus from the port. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want to think about it. What if the bus breaks down? What if all these things?
We looked at the pros and cons, and I realized if I had booked it privately, I would be so stressed. And other people aren't as stressed as me. I acknowledge that. Other people, they don't mind. Mm-hmm. But it would take away from my day, and I wouldn't enjoy my day, because that would be nagging at me, wondering, if something could go wrong. I'm not going to take that risk. I would lose too much joy from it.
Well, and both times we've done cave tubing in Belize, we've booked it through the ship.
Yes.
We booked it through Norwegian once, and we booked it through Carnival. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly, it's probably on our list further down that we would have done that. Those are the kind that I just don't want to deal with. You just don't have enough time.
I want to be having fun.
Yes.
I want to have fun on my cruise. I want to be relaxed, and I don't want to be stressed out. So
yeah. The other thing I want to mention is excursion meetup points, especially in places you walk off the ship. Typically tenders, they meet you up on the ship, but often if it's a private excursion, you'd meet off of the ship, and they're right by the ship. So maybe you booked, like, I don't know, a golf cart or something like that. It's right near the ship. Whereas a private excursion, you typically have to leave, go outside of the gates of the port. Maybe they might be right there, or they might be down the street. I know when we did the one in Grand Cayman, it was a few blocks down the street where we had to go
find the business.
We had to go find the business, and which is fine if you have a lot of time and you like walking. But sometimes just getting picked up right at the port is huge as well.
It's simpler if you're going for simple. Book with the cruise.
Yes. You want to bring up the next one, safety?
Yeah. So I believe you're generally safer when you're traveling in big numbers. And so when you're traveling with a big group from the cruise, I feel that it can be safer, especially if you're going into an area that you're not familiar with or may have higher crime. You may feel more relaxed and secure going with the cruise line.
Well, and I'm going to go back to Belize again. Belize City is typically where the cruise ships, I don't want to say dock, but tender into. And I know that's changing because they are building kind of a private stop.
They haven't given too many details, but something is happening out there, definitely.
So I'm actually excited to go to that in the future. That's another episode. But Belize City is known not to be necessarily the safest. Be very cautious there. You do see people walking around, but that port, you basically commonly are just basically stepping out of the gate straight onto a bus. You're not walking around. They don't
encourage
it or walking too far anyway. So safety is definitely a concern in some of these ports. So in Belize City, I might not want to take a taxi across town to find my excursion, to get on a bus or do something like that, versus other ports where I feel totally safe.
We have talked to people who have done it, and they've saved a lot of money and they had a great time. But I haven't talked to somebody where it didn't go well.
Yeah. So the next part is consistency.
And this kind of rolls really well because, yes, the safety, but Carnival also, they're working with these tour companies.
Yes.
And these tour companies, they want to keep, or so it shouldn't be specific to Carnival, all the cruise lines business. And so they're going to meet certain standards from quality and safety. And you can hope that they are following all the protocols that are.
Well, the expectation is if you book it with a cruise line that it's safe and the quality is going to be good.
Yes, more consistent.
Yeah. Kind of a little story I have on that is over in Grand Turk, we booked a golf cart, and our golf cart did not look in the same condition as those who booked them through the cruise line. We walked past all the nice golf carts out the gate and then got kind of a crummier golf cart.
A
questionable golf cart. And when we're driving down the road and all the nice golf carts are passing us and I've got the pedal to the metal. Yeah. So the quality can be different. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure all the best golf carts, even though some of them were the same businesses inside and out, the best ones went to the cruise line. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, that can change over time, but that's how we felt anyway.
So the next one that we're going to talk about is onboard credit. And some of us may have a lot of onboard credit, especially with some of the deals that you book. And it can be, shouldn't say it's hard to spend money on board, but maybe you're like, what do I do with all of this?
Well, sometimes you see like, we've never had this much, but like $1,000 onboard credit or like big numbers, especially coming out of the last few years, there's been some big credits that people have been getting. And how do you necessarily spend that? Well, Excursions is a great way to spend it. Why use your money out of your bank account when you can use your onboard account and credits to do that? And we've done that a few times where we've had onboard credits that, I guess we could use it for things on the ship, but it's like we may as well just use it for excursions. We did that in Honduras.
I know, and it was the starfish
snorkeling,
and it was super relaxing and fun, and we probably wouldn't have done it because we wouldn't have thought of doing it, but we needed to use up we had some onboard cash.
Yeah, and I think we had $100 left in onboard credit, so it was like a $50 excursion. It worked out perfect, and you were able to use that up.
It was really mellow and relaxing.
Yeah.
It was nice.
I don't think cruise ships go there anymore. It was called Trujillo, Honduras, and it was more, I think, on the mainland. And that port, we went on the excursion and we got on a bus to go back, and the bus stops and it's a runway.
You go across the airport.
He had to look both ways on the runway to make sure no planes were landing, and then he would continue on. It was just so authentic, and I wish cruise ships actually went back there. And maybe there's some small ones that do.
Maybe we'll have to look.
I'll have to look. I haven't looked at that.
It was somehow like magical for us that day. It was, the water was so warm. It was just chill.
Most people, when I say Trujillo, Honduras is a cruise port, they're like, I've never heard of that. And anyway, so I actually haven't seen any cruises that go there, but maybe there's some.
We'll have to look at.
It was a tender port too, which made that easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
So what else do we have here? Exclusive.
Yes. I think right away of Alaska up at Dawes Glacier, the only way you could take that excursion up right close to the glacier is if you booked with the cruise line.
Yeah.
And that's one that sold out before the cruise.
Yes. So if you're watching on one of the live or the video streams, I've got a photo here of the boat leaving the ship at the glacier, and then it would take you up to the glacier and meet back in Juneau later in the day.
Yeah, it looked like a very neat experience.
Yeah, and so this is because we did the glacier first thing in the morning and went to Juneau. Often it'll go the other way where you're in Juneau first, and then you do the glacier after. Some of those people will meet up in Juneau, take the excursion, and then come back to the ship later.
You know, I was thinking too of when we were on the Panorama, if you're in Puerto Vallarta, I believe it's called Rhythm of the Night, because it runs so late in the evening. You can only do it if you book with the cruise line, because they make sure they shuttle you right to the ship.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the details there, but they were saying you can't do it if you're not with the cruise line.
Well, it's common. We'll be sitting there eating dinner and it's past the time we're supposed to leave, and you'll see Excursions still coming back, and they're booked with the ship. They're not the standard pier runners who had one too many drinks at the bar. They're the
yeah.
They're the ones who actually booked with the ship, and their excursion just took a little bit longer. So I don't ever want to be the pier runner.
No,
I don't want all the cheering and everything. That's something I try to avoid. So
well, and that was one of the points we have here, just the less stress, because they're not going to leave without their excursion group coming back.
Yeah. You
know, if you book through the cruise line, they're going to wait till that group returns. They're not going to leave the whole.
Nabor says, I miss having a longer day in Cabo. Last time we only had 7 a.m. to 1:30 in Cabo on the Panorama. And I would agree. That's one of my favorite ports, and it's commonly a really short day.
Yeah. And
to the point where we're thinking about flying there just so we can
enjoy it
for longer.
I did, you know, with Cabo, I did notice that if you, or I think, was it when you're hitting Cabo as the third port day? I think it was shorter. I think it's longer.
I think it's commonly shorter if they only have, I'm trying to think of because there's different itineraries. When it's when they have to get back, then if they only have the 1 day to get there versus 2 days.
Right. Yeah.
That can make it shorter.
It's worth looking at when you book your cruise, because the same itinerary, like with a different cruise line, or if they reverse the order, can impact how much time you have in port.
Quality of excursions. So back to the golf cart story in Grand Turk. You know, the not only did the golf carts look better inside the port, but we also
the service
was probably not as good. We were on the ship and they'd overbooked, and I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I didn't know. And we showed up and they'd overbooked, and then they're scrambling trying to get us a golf cart, and they're working with their buddy down the street and maybe that's why our golf cart wasn't as good. But
well, they're like, we tried to emailed you, but we had opted not to have internet, and we were just
so it's all, you know, the quality of the service. I mean, I know there's been a lot of even cruise lines overbooking cabins and things, and it happens, but dealing with those sorts of things, you can deal with it right on the ship rather than trying to get on your phone. And I think less stress we kind of already talked about. So
why would we though book privately? So after all that long list, what's the big reason?
The ease of it, for sure. I like to book them in. I think the ease and the no worries if the port gets canceled, and the tender days would be my biggest things. My three biggest things.
The time
saved on tender days.
And you know, even on the tendering or not tendering, we always leave a buffer, like before and after the cruise excursion. So if you're booking with the cruise and it's a later excursion too, like, you know, they're going to get you back in time. You don't have to, if you're privately, you're leaving a long buffer of time just to make sure you're good.
Yeah. No, for sure. What are those? What's your top reasons?
Oh, it would be probably it's the less stress.
Yeah.
It's just less stressful.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we jump over? We'll jump over to our next section and the pros of booking private excursions, because there's plenty of those as well.
Yeah.
And some of them are why we do private excursions sometimes. So do you want to start with this?
Yeah. Okay. Big reason. It's not always the case, but pricing. It can be significantly cheaper.
Yes. Not always, but
not always. It can be to do things privately. And often there is no reason to even book a tour or someone to walk you down to the beach. Sometimes there's a free beach right there. And
so do you want to explain for those of you on the video stream again?
So when we were in Cozumel last time, we got off the ship. We walked about a mile. We went and ate lunch in a bar that was right on the water. And they allowed us to use the access to the ocean and go swimming. We could keep our stuff there. There was a locker rental for $3. We
brought our own snorkels,
but I think it was only $15 to rent snorkels.
You could rent scuba diving equipment there. They had massages there. You could pay for all of that.
And the food was very reasonable. So we had a very inexpensive day. But
guess what happened?
People from our cruise, they were there on the excursions
that they bought on the cruise.
On the cruise ship. And they paid a lot.
They had paid a lot. We talked to a gentleman who was at the exact same spot we were, and he got off the ship. They took him on a boat to the exact place we'd walk to. So, and maybe you have mobility issues and you need that, but they paid a lot more than what we did to have a very similar experience. And I know he did scuba diving, but we were snorkeling like
above the scuba divers.
Above the scuba divers, 5 feet above them. So it wasn't. And you could have rented the scuba gear there as well.
Yeah. So sometimes there's really no need to book with the ship, and you could save a lot of money for the same or similar experience.
And then you have, I mean, this is close to the ship. It was just easy. So I think it comes maybe back to doing some research.
Yeah.
So research can save you a bunch there. So less expensive options as well. Continuing on with that.
And I want to think too of Cabo, because in Cabo, when you get out of the port area or the pier, they're trying to sell excursions privately, and they're really inexpensive. They can start higher, and you can negotiate down. But we paid $15 to go out around Lovers Beach and to around the Arches, and we stayed there, went swimming, a ride back. $15.
So right as you get off the pier in a place like Cabo, there's tons of vendors selling boat tours, and they typically look like this, and they're just one boat after another taking people to the Arches, giving tours and stuff, and it's cheap. You're
not gonna be offered that kind of day for $15 on the cruise line.
No, for sure. And they'll leave you at the beach for a couple hours if you want, or where you can go snorkeling or whatever. I don't know how you can beat that for an excursion. $15. And sure, I've heard some people pay more. Some people I've heard paid $10, but because you're kind of haggling with them. So you know what? Let me throw that. We never said that in on the pros for booking on the ship. You don't have to haggle for prices and all that.
There's no
negotiating. It's all set. So that would be a pro for that. That just kind of came into mind. So there can be some really, really good deals, I would say, privately.
For sure. And and also when you get to port, there's tons of options. And from even I think in Grand Turk, when we went privately on the golf cart, we could stop at any beach we wanted to.
Yes.
And it was that was a beautiful day. And it's just, you can do what you want. It's endless. Right?
You build your own adventure.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into the next one, is flexibility to move at your own pace.
This is huge.
Yes.
And this can be even if you go on let's say you're going on a hike.
Well, we just saw this in Belize.
And
yeah,
you might find that the group is going too fast or they're going too slow. And we like to see as much as possible when we're in port.
Yeah.
So sometimes I find being in a group is too slow because I want to do more and move more quickly.
Yes. Yeah. Especially for excursions that involve hiking or walking as part of it. I've seen where, one person is an avid hiker who climbed to Everest base camp, and then the next guy struggles. And so you've got this wide variety in your group, and it can be hard.
Well, even I thought about the ATV little group we saw leave, and it was obvious that some people had never ridden ATVs.
Yeah.
And if you ride ATVs all the time, I don't know that you really want to be paired with beginner.
Yeah.
Like everyone's kind of moving at different skill levels.
Well, you've got speeds. The one person who takes off like they've been doing it their whole life, and then the next person who's and it's so you're if you know what you're doing, you're being hindered, and if you are new, you're stressed out because everybody's ahead of you, and it can be frustrating. And a private excursion for maybe beginners might be better.
It might be better for you.
So that would be kind of that. Flexibility to stop at shopping, more time for taking photos, coffee shops. I enjoy, one of my favorite things is in stopping in coffee shops in these places and maybe sitting there and enjoying the people for, half an hour or whatever. And a lot of times you won't have those opportunities.
Just doing what you want when you want and being able to adjust as you want.
Yeah, no, for sure. And trying to immerse yourself a little bit more in the local culture. And I think I just mentioned, but taking photos, if you find that beautiful place, you can stop and enjoy the view for half an hour if you want, rather than being 5 minutes and we need to go to the next stop.
And a lot of places you don't need an excursion or a group. Like I think of Juneau. If your plan in Juneau for the day is to go shopping and just check out the shops and eat some fish and chips, you're dropped off right there.
Right downtown.
You're right downtown. The shops are right there, and the famous restaurants to eat at are right there.
Well, I think, to me, one of my favorite days has been in San Juan, Puerto Rico. You're right downtown, the old town, the beautiful culture. And especially we hadn't been there before. I didn't need to book an excursion there. We did pay to go into the forts, which was a minimal cost, but like just exploring the city, seeing the pigeons, doing all that stuff is, and I know I get it. Some people want to do adventure excursions and different things, but just immersing yourself in the culture is, and you don't always need an excursion.
And you can stop. That was a nice city to have the flexibility to get a coffee when you want and enter the stores you want. And
talking about free things to do in port, so exclusive beaches that the cruise lines don't take you to. So this is when we did have an excursion here. We booked a golf cart, but we drove to just a private beach where there was nobody. We went swimming there, and we spent some time there, and it was our own private beach. When we were leaving, some people came by on horseback half an hour later, but we had this whole beach to ourselves for probably as long as we wanted. If we wanted to stay there the whole day, the water was warm. It was gorgeous.
It was perfect.
Yeah. So I think being able to do things that are maybe off the beaten path a little bit is a big perk.
Customizable too. When you book your own day, you get to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And even if you book, let's say, with a taxi to give you a tour, you have your flexibility of telling them where you want to go and what you want to do. And
and just being independent. So that's kind of our pros that we came up with for private excursions. And I know there's more, and you can drop those in the comments below if you like. But yeah, I mean, there's times for both of them. And that's kind of why we want to talk about kind of the factors that we go over when we're trying to decide whether we do private or with the cruise company.
And sometimes we really debate.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And actually, when we talked about going to cave tubing in Belize, because somebody had told us they booked it. It was like $50 cheaper a person. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of money to save.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we are torn.
Mm-hmm. I will say, though, when we left cave tubing in Belize, we started to drive away in the bus, and they stopped and said, we're missing 2 people, which I don't know if we'd done privately, as they're looking as close. So our guide got off, had to go over the hill and brought the 2 people back. And of course, they'd been in line buying drinks and had missed it. But they were accounted for and brought back, which could easily be missed if you went privately. So yeah, but factors in how we decide.
Yeah. So the first thing is, do you want to do a big excursion, or do you just want to wander around? Because some places you don't need to plan a big event. The location itself is amazing.
Well, the location is kind of an excursion. I like I just mentioned in San Juan, Puerto Rico. That's why I have my San Juan mug. We bought that at the Starbucks there, for those of you wondering.
Well, and if you want a beautiful beach day and you arrive in Grand Turk, you do not need to arrange anything. It is the most beautiful beach. That's
the other thing. Actually, that's not even on our list, is what's right at the port.
Yeah.
Because Grand Turk, for example, there's a beautiful beach right there. There's is it Margaritaville, I think?
I can't be sure, but it's a big swimming.
I think it's the Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville or something. I think could be wrong. But they have free pools that you can go swimming in. So do you need an excursion? Or in Amber Cove, for example, you can go on the water slides for free, and you can go swim in the pool, the lazy river, go play basketball. All that's complimentary. Right. So do you need an excursion?
Yeah.
So
it's not always needed.
Yeah.
The other question we ask is, do we have a long port day, giving us lots of extra time? So if we're going to venture out on our own, we need to be able to factor in buffer time. So like arriving late and getting back early so that we're not stressed.
Yeah. I want to point out Carl's point here, and this is actually a good one. Basically, he's talking about how long it takes to load and unload 40 people on a bus versus 4 to 12 people in a van, or 4 people in a cab, or 2 people in a cab. Because it's commonly why we like to take an Uber from the port, because we can just jump in an Uber and go to the wherever.
Especially to the airport.
To the airport after the cruise, versus waiting for everybody to load on the bus, that sort of thing. So, it does eat up a lot of time.
Even all the washroom breaks. Like when we went on our last excursion, so you did our shuttle tender to the cruise pier, and then they're like, oh, where's the washroom? So then you've got a whole busload of people going to use the washroom, and then you're waiting for them all to come back again.
Yeah.
Like we spent a lot of time waiting that day for the whole group.
Yes. Yeah. So sorry, where were we at in factors and how we decide?
Long port day.
How long the port day is. If it's a long day, you might be there till 8 at night. Yeah, maybe you are far more likely to do something on your own than in Cabo, like Nabor.
Carl, you're grossing me.
All right, I'll bring this up. Carl, the Margaritaville in Grand Turk is where people sit in the pool drinking for 4 hours but never get out to go pee. Yeah.
Maybe swim in the ocean.
Yeah, there's the ocean right next to it.
Let's
so
stay in the ocean,
at least the waves there. Anyway. That's funny. Yeah.
That's gross. On to tendering.
Yes, are we tendering? And again, that comes back to places like Cabo or Grand Turk or Belize, those sorts of
not
places.
Grand Turk.
No, not Grand Cayman.
Yeah.
All these grand places.
They are grand places. Yeah, because that factors into time and how easy it is to plan.
Yeah. Risk.
Yeah, and there's different kind of risks. There's like safety risk, there's like time management risk, the distance from the port, as Carl brought up earlier. How far do we want to go? If we're venturing out, for us, like I tend to think if we're more than like 45 minutes away, we tend to stick with the cruise line.
One of my thoughts when we do an excursion, and if we're doing it privately, how easy is it to, if something goes wrong, how easy is it to just get a taxi to get back to the port? That's the question I ask myself all the time. So if we're half an hour away, if something goes wrong, is it easy to get a taxi to take us back? And if the answer is yes, it's easy, I'm more likely to do it privately.
Yeah.
Just because like I'm not worried about missing the ship.
And our kind of rule of thumb then too is we venture out early and then start to work our way back so that we're not cutting it close.
We try to go to the furthest point first and then work our way back to the ship. And I think that's you know, you don't want to realize you're an hour away an hour before the ship is set to leave. You'd rather be 10 minutes away when it's an hour from leaving. So
the next one too, price difference.
For sure.
So sometimes
it's almost the same price.
Sometimes it is the same price. And then especially if you have onboard credit, just book it that way and use it up.
Yeah.
The simplicity or, you know, the benefits of booking with the cruise, but sometimes it's way cheaper.
Yes, I 100% agree. And there's one more thing I have.
Yes, this is a good one.
This is a big one, and we have we're debating this one right now
because we have onboard credit coming up on a cruise, and it's a tiny bit more to book on the cruise line. But this big factor, Ken.
Weather. So we are wanting to take the Gold Belt tram potentially in Alaska, but we've been there where it's so clouded in. We've seen videos where people can't see anything, and I don't want to pay to do it if I can't see anything.
And it's not like if it's foggy, I don't know if you can get a refund.
Yeah. So the Gold Belt tram in Juneau, I think that one's weather related. I don't want to do that if it's raining or cloudy or foggy. So it's one of those excursions where you walk off the ship and you can walk up to the ticket booth and just pay and go up. You don't even have to pre-book it. So I think I'd rather just wait.
I want to, if I'm going to go do that, I want the weather to be clear because I want to be able to look out and see everything.
Yeah. Even though we have an onboard credit that we could book that with.
Yeah. But I'm going to spend it differently if it's foggy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So we might wait on the ship. And if we see the weather report for the next day, we could buy it the day before.
If the weather report the day or two before is showing that it's going to be sunny and perfect, sure. But I don't know what it's going to be like.
So we're not
sure. A few months from now. So
we don't know. So we're still working that one out.
Yeah. So other than that, did you have any other?
No, I think that's kind of what goes through our head as we try to figure out what we want to do. We love to plan.
Yes.
You've
always been a planner.
I love to research and I love to look up all the details and find out exactly what we should do. But I also don't like stress. So. Yeah.
So Carl's asking, is that the Mount Roberts tram Gold Belt? Yes. It used to, I think it used to be called the Mount Roberts tram. And last time we were there last summer, we noticed the name had been changed to Gold Belt tram. But that is the Mount Roberts tram.
It's the same one.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were confused too when we got there. And like, oh, I thought the name was something else. And we Googled it. So yeah. So I guess why don't we start winding it down there? I think I appreciate all of you who've been in the comments and brought those in.
I want to know what excursions people are going on though. So if you've got some good excursions,
what's
in the comments.
What's your next excursion that you're doing? Put that in the comments. We'd love to see that.
And should we book it privately or should we book it on the ship? Like, tell us.
Yeah, no, for sure. So if you haven't actually done so already, we'd love to invite you to hit that subscribe button. It's totally free on YouTube, or follow us on Facebook or your favorite podcasting platform. You can listen to us in the car or while you're cooking dinner. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to leave it there for now and go do some yard work for our Saturday here. So awesome. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, have a wonderful week. Take care and bye-bye.